Welcome back, everybody. It is Inside G2E with Brady Cannon here on SportsGrid, and we are lucky enough now to be joined by Robert Christensen, a longtime gaming executive in the Choctaw Nation area in Oklahoma. And I guess, Robert, you've got some exciting news. You're not exactly doing that anymore, but that is part of what the industry is, where you're making the shift. I guess you're going to be doing something similar. Maybe tell us about what you've done in the past and what you can tell us about your new venture.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the casino industry for the last 12 or so years. I've been with the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma for the last 4.5 years. In that role, helped stand up the digital gaming business for the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, Choctaw Digital. Stood up Social Casino, and then spent the last several years working on an iGaming online sportsbook product for tribes, mainly around the idea of Class 2 online gaming. So offering tribal Class 2 bingo-based slot games, bingo games for players within the mobile ecosystem for tribes. And so in this new role that I'm going into that'll be announced here shortly, I'll be working on those same efforts going forward. So heavily involved in that world and super excited to help push things forward.
Yeah, very cool. Now talk to me a little bit. You mentioned the mobile iGaming sports betting with tribes. Is that prevalent, or are we going to see that with tribes in California, tribes in Florida? Explain to me that,
great.
If you can dive deeper into that.
Sure, yeah, so if it's all right, I'll give a little background on what Class 2 is and how it works, and how it's going to be relevant going forward. So back in the 1980s, IGRA gave tribes the sovereign right to offer bingo games under their own tribal regulatory authority. So the NIGC was set up to not govern, but ensure that tribal operations were offering these bingo games within the secure framework that the federal government required. Over the years, these bingo games evolved into Class 2 slot machines, so it's bingo-based games, but presented as slot games.
Right.
And back in the day, the early versions of this, you could tell a difference between a Class 2 slot machine and a Class 3 slot machine. But it's become the case nowadays where they're almost indiscernible. You can't tell the difference between the two. And so going back to 2022, the Chickasaw Nation of Oklahoma and the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma received alternate technical standards from the NIGC that now considers customer-owned mobile devices to be Class 2 gaming devices.
Okay.
So that in a way offers tribes the ability to allow slot games to be played on customer phones. Tribes are going to take a different approach to this going forward. So with the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, what our team decided to do was put together a tech stack that mirrored and operated exactly the same way an iGaming product or an online sportsbook product would work within a regulated iGaming state. And so from that, we're able to pull in Class 2 slot RGS games the same way you would a traditional RGS game. And so, as we know here in the US, only 7 US states have legal iGaming. So in a sense, this is the way that we could potentially move iGaming across the country at the tribal level.
Are you involved in kind of the progress of some of these other states getting close to legalizing? It would seem your involvement with the tribes, that's a big part of the equation.
It is, and from state to state, and Oklahoma specifically, heavily involved.
Right.
California, heavily involved. Right. And so from my standpoint, I'm consider myself more as like an advisor. I'm not necessarily in those meeting rooms where the conversations are happening, but happy to provide information to those that do. And received calls over the years from people all over the country trying to understand and trying to know what the messaging should be going forward. And so been involved in kind of providing that information and curating the message a little bit.
Are we close at all to an Oklahoma? I mean, it seems like Texas may be the tough one. Yeah. California, I don't know. What's some of your insight on maybe how close we are in some of these other areas?
Yeah, let's start with Oklahoma. From the Oklahoma standpoint, it's a matter of the parties involved getting on the same page. Oftentimes what you find is there's a disconnect between the operators, in Oklahoma's case, tribal operators,
right,
and the government itself. And so you'll get friction, in my opinion, in unnecessary ways where it creates conflict. And so it's a matter of people coming to the table and working together to figure out a way forward. So that's in process. But I would anticipate Oklahoma here in the next year or two. Texas is a more complicated piece.
Well, it's exciting if you're right that Oklahoma might only be a year or two away. We wish you the best with your new venture. It's Robert Christensen joining us here on Inside G2E on SportsGrid. Thanks again, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.